just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Deion. I don't think Deion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
Quotes coming out about Embiid. Oh, he's a warrior. You'll never get him off the court. You're just telling me he's an injury. He's one slip and fall away from what's not seeing him anymore in this series.
I would have sat him because there was only 1 day between the two games. It's 2 days between games 2 and games 3, and it's 2 days between games 3 and game 4.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you here on this Tuesday. We've got some major upsets, potentially, in both the NHL and NBA based off the results last night. Jacob Camenker will join us. We'll go over the latest in the National Basketball Association. Also, we've got the latest in sports wagering news and notes. A guest contributor, as always, from Legal Sports Report today. It is Matthew Waters. And the PGA Tour season heats up. A lot of the players are on the course this weekend, and we'll get a preview with Brady Kannon. Also, we, of course, have everything going on in the world of sports, hearing from everyone. We go around the dial, around sports, as we have the SportsGrid sound off. Some very strong words yesterday from Pat Riley, the president of basketball operations of the Miami Heat. But all that and more, let's do this in order and get started. And we start off with maybe the biggest upset in the NBA playoffs in years. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Denver Nuggets again last night in Denver. Game wasn't close. 106-80. Minnesota's playing this incredible defense on Denver like they've never seen before. So of course they cover. Of course they win outright. Total of 207 in this one. There's just no points being scored because Minnesota has Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets on lockdown. Frustration in that game, which we'll get to, from Jamal Murray coming up in just a little bit, but we just haven't seen Denver look this vulnerable in a long period of time. So the question becomes, now with this series going back to Minnesota, can the Timberwolves close this out in their home stadium? Anthony Edwards having a monster series thus far, 27 points apiece, 54 points with him and Karl Anthony Towns. Edwards talks about what it is next in Minnesota this week.
No, not at all. It worked in our favor tonight, man. That's all that was. We made shots, they didn't. That's the defending champs over there, so they're not going to come out and play like that again in Game 3. We got to be ready to take their punch. And I always tell the team, like when we huddle up and Finchy say, we got to be ready to take their punch, I say, we're going to punch too. I mean, they're not the only one punching in the fight. So, I mean, yeah. Just like that. They're not the only one that's going to come out punching. I don't give a damn if we go up 3-0 for the Game 4. We're going to come out punching too. So they got to be ready to take our punch, and we'll be ready to take their punch. But, yeah, I don't see no slippage in their games. They just missed shots tonight. They'll be ready to go Game 3, and we will be.
Under 100 points, 2 games in a row for the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. Well, meanwhile, a wild, high-scoring affair last night at Madison Square Garden. Indiana was off to a good start in this one. Some questionable calls, I would say, to say the least, at the end of this game. But regardless, the Jalen Brunson story rolls on. 43 points for Brunson last night, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in the win as the Knicks get game 1 against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana covers the spread in this game, but naturally the story behind the Knicks' success has been Jalen Brunson. Another 40-point performance. It's his 4th straight 40-point performance. Incredible run here. Reminiscent to, yes, Michael Jordan, of course, in his days with the Chicago Bulls, as the Knicks now take a 1-0 series lead and could potentially go up 2-0 a little bit later in the week. Head coach Tom Thibodeau talked about Brunson's 40-point performance, a historic start to the playoffs for him.
30-5 straight playoff games since LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, and Oscar Robertson. What does that mean?
Yeah, you just said it right there. It's pretty elite company, and so, it's the impact that it's having on us. They're not like empty stats. They're stats that are impacting winning, So, and if he gets double teamed, he doesn't fight it. He gets off it, and then if he gets into the paint and they collapse or they overcommit, it also opens up second shot opportunities for us. So we want to take advantage of it that way. And we've got some great guys at offensive rebounding who make a second and third effort so we can get shots that way as well. So, but, just the overall, the leadership of all those guys, giving everything they have to the team and putting the team first says a lot about them.
It's a great start and could be a great finish. We'll see how far the Knicks go. Award season is underway, of course, in the NBA. Yesterday, they announced the Rookie of the Year. Not a huge surprise. Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs are also no stranger to having Rookies of the Year. David Robinson, Tim Duncan, you may remember those names, both in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Unanimous Rookie of the Year vote for Victor Wembanyama, who was an absolute star for the Spurs. We'll see if they can get help around him going into next season. Meanwhile, in the Wolves win, Rudy Gobert did not play last night. I'm sure you heard about this. He had a baby, so he missed the game, which is obviously fantastic for him, but naturally going to miss a game, and that's what happened. Now, as far as the Miami Heat is concerned, nothing happening on the court right now with them as they were eliminated by the Boston Celtics. But yesterday, Pat Riley, president of basketball operations, had his annual meet with the media. And my gosh, did Riley have some interesting things to say about Jimmy Butler, essentially saying before he gets a contract extension, he's going to have to play a little bit more during the regular season. Riley went on to say that they had talked to his agents about this previously, and in a quote said, "We have not discussed that," meaning his contract extension internally right now. We have to look at making that kind of commitment, and then when we do it, we don't have to do it until 2025. We haven't made a decision on it, and in earnest, we haven't discussed it. But naturally, Jimmy Butler's agent, not happy with these words too. We'll see what the summer holds. Will there be a resolution for Jimmy Butler and the Heat or a breakup? Stay tuned. 2 NBA games tonight. Cavaliers, Celtics. Celtics, huge favorites. 11.5 points, 7 o'clock Eastern. Dallas Mavericks playing some great basketball with Coach of the Year Jason Kidd at the Thunder tonight. Thunder minus 3.5, 9:30 Eastern time. In Major League Baseball yesterday, the most dominant pitcher in the National League just keeps dealing. Zach Wheeler, 11 strikeouts. My gosh, has he been great. Bryce Harper also hit a home run, and the Phillies swept the Giants. Third time in 142 years that Philly has reached 25 victories in 36 or fewer games. Right now, they're in first place in the National League East. Wheeler, 1 run, 7 innings, 11 strikeouts. 1.64 earned run average this season. Last night in Los Angeles, the Dodgers got an old friend back. Walker Buehler made his debut this season. He also did not pitch last season because of Tommy John surgery. They played against the Marlins. The Marlins took an early lead in this one, but Shohei Ohtani homered, and so did Freddie Freeman, and so did Teoscar Hernandez. And by the way, Buehler did not look that great, but the Dodgers do win 6-3 in that game. Also, Justin Steele, who has missed time with a hamstring issue, he returned and pitched against the San Diego Padres 4 2/3 innings in a game that went back and forth. The issue for the Cubs right now is not the starting pitching. Of course, Steele has been good, and so has Assad, and so has Imanaga. They have no bullpen, so they're going to need some help behind those starting pitchers. Also, Wyatt Langford was placed on the injured list. He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, a potential Rookie of the Year candidate, but it has not been a pleasant time for him being hurt, nor has it been for Jackson Holliday. It seems like Rookie of the Year could be potentially wide open. He had a great spring training, did Langford, but he's batting just .224 on the regular season. In the National Football League, it was a quiet day, but Joe Burrow found his way back to throwing at workouts. The quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, missed an extended period of time last season after suffering a wrist injury against the Baltimore Ravens. And naturally, they're hoping that he will be back in time, not only for training camp, but of course, for the regular season as well. Tank Dell, according to the owner Cal McNair of the Houston Texans, says he'll make a full recovery after he was wounded in a shootout at a Florida restaurant last month. He did not provide any more details. It was a minor wound after April 27th. Rick Bowness, the Winnipeg Jets head coach, has announced his retirement. A great run, 98, 57, and 9 record in his 2 seasons as head coach. He brought them back to the playoffs, has just decided to call it quits. And meanwhile, first-round pick Camila Cardoso is going to have her WNBA debut delayed with the Chicago Sky as she suffered an injury during a preseason game on Friday, a shoulder issue that is going to cost her 4 to 6 weeks. So hoping for a speedy recovery there. Coming up next, we preview tonight's NBA games and also take a look back at what happened last night with Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Don't go away.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's recap last night's NBA games, take a look at tonight's games as well. Jacob Camenker joins us, a man of many hats, many talents, covering everything for sporting news as we dive right in. Jacob, great to have you back here. And, look, this is pretty shocking to see the Minnesota Timberwolves dismantle the Denver Nuggets at altitude in Denver. This is something that no team has done in several years. And the series is far from over, but at this stage of the game, all Minnesota has to do is win 2 of the next 5 games to advance. I mean, it would seem like they have a pretty good shot.
Yeah, the Timberwolves are looking great right now. They're 6-0 in the postseason so far. Anthony Edwards is having his star turn. He says he doesn't like the Michael Jordan comparisons, which I can completely understand, given that Jordan's one of the greatest players of all time. But he's really provided the team with some energy. Karl Anthony Towns has stepped up in this series. Last night, Rudy Gobert was out, so there were some questions about, hey, is this too big a lineup for the Timberwolves not having that available? Will that allow Jokic to get going? And they couldn't quite do it. The Nuggets just never found their rhythm, and they look out of sorts right now. Jamal Murray just doesn't look fully healthy or even anywhere close to it. I think he's playing through pain, and we're sort of seeing how important Murray is to that offense against a great defensive team. They're just not finding as many open looks. Jokic is still a fantastic passer, but he just doesn't have his wingman at full strength, and I think that's going to hurt the Nuggets. So I think the Timberwolves have to be favored in this series at this point. I don't think that they're going to sweep the defending champions, but they have really just come out and punched 2 presumed super teams in the mouth, sweeping the Suns and winning 2 on the road against Denver. So Chris Finch and those guys deserve a lot of props for what they've been able to do so far.
Yeah, the shock of the playoffs, without a doubt. Now, last night's game, very entertaining also between the Pacers and Knicks. There was a little bit of a controversial call at the end of that one, but Indiana looked like they were in really good shape for a while there, Jacob, and I thought they may pull this off, and then Jalen Brunson went crazy again. Another 40-point game for him. He's just basically been unstoppable. And, you mentioned Michael Jordan with the comparisons with Anthony Edwards. I mean, this is even more fair to see this sort of historical performance that he has. It reminds me, Jacob, of back when Dwayne Wade led the Miami Heat to the championship. And I remember being at those games. They're just, when you're this kind of level of star, I know that, Jacob, there are going to be a lot of people asking, why can't they just stop this guy? But that's just when you're too good to stop. That's what's happening with Brunson.
Absolutely. He's just been on fire. He's taking good shots, and he's always been an efficient player. That dates back to his days at Villanova. He was an efficient shooter. He's an efficient scorer. He's a good passer. He does everything well, and he was kind of overlooked early in his NBA career, even during the draft process, being a second-round pick, because teams wondered, well, what's his ceiling? Is he going to be a role player, or can he develop into a star? He has firmly answered that question. He is a fantastic player, an absolute star, and you mentioned Michael Jordan. Now, Jalen Brunson has scored 40-plus points in 4 consecutive playoff games. I think only 4 players in NBA history have done that, and Michael Jordan is one of them. So you're right. The comparisons are definitely there. The Knicks, as long as they have him playing like this, are going to be a tough team to beat because they do play good defense. I know Indiana scored a lot in the paint last night. They'll have to clean up that area a little bit, but Tom Thibodeau coached teams always find a way to stop you on defense, and with Tyrese Halliburton not looking 100% or sort of struggling at this point, I think it's really the Knicks series to win here. And if Jalen Brunson keeps playing like this, they should have the edge. But the Pacers have the offense to make it close, so this isn't going to be a gimme series for the Knicks either.
Yeah, I mean, I would think Indiana will play better at home, but again, still a ways to go before they get there. Got to play again in New York. All right, so game 1 tonight in Boston. The Celtics have been waiting for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They knocked off the Orlando Magic in 7 games. And Boston, not as big a favorite against Cleveland as they were against Miami. If you remember, those games were like 14, 15 points. Tonight, 11.5, the total of 210. I always find these first games, Jacob, dangerous for me because I'm really not sure what to expect. I feel like the first game happens and then things normalize throughout the series. So my temptation here is to either, I don't know, pass on this game or maybe play a half or something like that because I do think Boston's going to win the game, but I just never know what to expect in game 1.
Yeah, I'm from the Boston area and I grew up a Celtics fan, so I think that they're going to win this game and win this series, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have one of those classic games that we've seen out of this team where they should win, they should find a way to win, but it's closer than it needs to be. So in this game, I almost favor the Cavs because the Celtics have had a long layoff. Cavs against the spread, not Cavs to win outright, but I think the Cavs can keep this within 10 points. They match up decently well with the Celtics. Celtics have had trouble in the past containing Donovan Mitchell and Karis LeVert. Sometimes they both have big games. I have distinct memories of LeVert dropping 50 on the Celtics recently. So I think that these guys can keep it close. The Celtics might be out of rhythm a little bit after having a longer layoff, and I think that the Cavs will be riding that emotional win in Game 7 and come back into this one. Now, that can backfire because if the Cavs are tired, the Celtics could probably run them out of the gym. But I might go with the Cavs in this one against the spread and see the Celtics pull out a closer than expected win to kick off this series.
All right, I'll look forward to that. Now, tonight, I think the more interesting game has to be Dallas at Oklahoma City, and you see what the line is over on FanDuel. The odds makers are basically saying this could be an even series. Dallas is playing, outside of maybe Boston and Minnesota, Dallas is playing the best basketball in the playoffs in the NBA. Do you think they can upset Oklahoma City tonight? Odds are -3.5 Oklahoma City against them.
I do think that Dallas can get an upset win. I think this is going to be a back-and-forth series with a lot of close games and a lot of scoring. These teams really scored a lot on each other during the regular season. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are prone to pop off at any time, and the Thunder just have such great depth. The scoring comes from all over the place, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an MVP-type candidate. But I just think that these two teams are going to go back and forth, score a lot, keep it close. But I think Dallas could pull off the win tonight.
All right. Look forward to it, Jacob. Thanks for dishing on some NBA today. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up again next week here on NewsWire. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, Craig.
All right. Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. All right. Coming up next, Brian Nasto joins us from the social media team here at SportsGrid. Weighs in on the Boston Celtics right after the break.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. It's sort of unusual to be sitting here in the second round of the NBA playoffs and have go on to your favorite sports betting site, whether it's FanDuel, DraftKings, or anywhere else. And the Boston Celtics are not the dynasty that the Chicago Bulls were, or the San Antonio Spurs, or when the Miami Heat was going strong. but they're as big of a favorite to win the NBA championship right now as those teams were as well. And the reason why is because Denver lost again last night. So it's like, who would you pick outside of Boston to win the NBA championship? They're the number one seed. They have the easiest path to the West, and who even knows who's going to come out of the West at this point? But there has to be some team willing to, I don't know, take this series to a 6-game series or a 7-game series against the Celtics. They can't be all that dominant, right? They haven't been over the last few years. So let's check in with our social media department here on SportsGrid, and Brian Nasto weighs in on some of the contenders to potentially take down the Celtics.
As there's very little competition left in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics are looking to make their second trip to the NBA Finals in 3 years. If we look at the remaining teams that are left, the Pacers, Knicks, and the Cavs, questions are asked if there's any legitimate team that can give the Celtics a run for their money. The closest team being the Knicks. However, they were 1-4 against Boston in the regular season. So it's no longer if, but when the Boston Celtics make the NBA Finals. Who will be on the opposing side of that court in the Western Conference? Will it be the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and the number one defense? Or is it going to be the Denver Nuggets, the national defending champions, with Jokic and Murray leading the way? Only time will tell as we get closer to the NBA Finals in June. Back to you, Craig.
All right, thanks very much, Brian. And hopefully for your sake, Brian, the Celtics do go to the finals, or else we'll be playing that clip back and somebody else will on social media as well. But great job with that. All right, now one of the teams that he did mention as a potential contender to the throne, which the Celtics have not yet won, are the New York Knicks. Fair to say that right now Jalen Brunson is playing the very best basketball of anybody in the NBA playoffs. In fact, he's breaking all kinds of records in history, joining elite clubs of Oscar Robertson and Michael Jordan and some of the best players that have ever played. 4 games of 40 points. I mean, Brunson's sort of unstoppable right now. And last night after the game, Brunson was told that he is joining the elite category along with somebody you may be familiar with, and Michael Jordan.
What's telling you that you have to score? No one scored 40 in 4 games with Michael Jordan. Well, what's telling you you have to do this right now? Michael Jordan?
Stop. I would say nothing. I'm not going thinking I need to score 40. That's not my mindset at all. My mindset is to be aggressive, to make plays for myself and for others. And so gain the paint and see what's happening. And I have the confidence. I know I could score in the paint, but I know I have the confidence that my teammates are all moving and getting to open positions where they can be successful as well. And so it's just the constant communication that we have and the trust that we have with each other to do the best we can every single time we're down the court.
It got me thinking a little bit also with Brunson's performances. Imagine if sports betting was legal and we had player props during the time Michael Jordan was playing, because Brunson is obviously going over all of his player props every single game in the NBA playoffs. And the numbers are set at like 33.5. What would Michael Jordan's numbers have been if we were setting player props back then? Interesting conversation. Another interesting conversation was had yesterday in South Florida, where Pat Riley met with the media for the first time since the season ended. Of course, he's the president of basketball operations and generally speaks one time per year. In that one time per year, he was asked yesterday about Jimmy Butler's comments as to whether or not Jimmy Butler believes if he was on the court against the Celtics, that the Heat would have beaten the Celtics in that series. Listen to what he said about that.
For him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
Strong stuff from Pat Riley. Do you remember the last time that he said something kind of specific about a player and went sort of all in on, this is basically him telling Jimmy Butler he's got to play more during the regular season. The last time was when the Miami Heat lost in the playoffs and LeBron James headed out the door back for Cleveland. We'll see if the same thing happens with Jimmy Butler, although I doubt it. We'll take a quick time out here on the show. Matthew Waters joins us from Legal Sports Report right after this quick break. Don't go away.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Deion. I don't think Deion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks. Or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number one seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish here back with you. We've got Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. Wouldn't you know, as we dive into tax rates and sports betting, there's a state that is trying to follow in the footsteps of New York with that 51% tax rate. We'll get to that story and a whole lot more as we bring in Matt to talk about the latest. And I know earnings calls, Matthew, were last week, and we got some information from you and from Pat Evans and from a lot of the folks over at, of course, Legal Sports Report. Let's talk about DraftKings this morning. Let's get started there. The big story, I think, of the year, I would say, as we progress, and maybe the calendar year, even going back to last year, is the fact that a lot of these sports books are reporting that the money that they're making is off these same game parlays. I don't know if this is going to continue forever, Matthew, but this is just a huge moneymaker for all of these companies.
When you Caesars and BetMGM and Penn, whenever they're asked about, what are they going to be working on, Penn especially, it's all parlays. It's all trying to get up to speed with DraftKings and FanDuel and what they're able to offer with the depth of their parlays. And you're right, they did it again. DraftKings has been on an unbelievable run of beating estimates and then raising their forward guidance. It's been happening for over a year now, and they just did it again last Friday. And so the company is doing really well, but it's all underpinned by these parlays that are helping. Because if you look, we know everybody didn't do great in the first quarter, right? We know March Madness kind of whipped them, and we know the Super Bowl was not a great outcome for them. Even with that, DraftKings still held 9.5%. That's 1.5 percentage points up from last year. So they're still growing how much money they're taking, even when they get walloped in the results. It impacted their adjusted EBITDA by $42 million. That's huge considering they had $22 million in adjusted EBITDA. And you're right, it's just all parlay. And even more now, I want to read you what Jason Robbins said. Remember that they unveiled a new product called Progressive Parlays last year, which actually lets you lose a certain amount of legs each parlay, depending on how many legs you have. And so he said, Progressive Parlay, as an example, is a much higher average leg count than a typical parlay, which makes sense because if you're getting a couple back, you can, take an even bigger risk than a 7-leg parlay already is. So that's one of the many examples of contributors, he said. They're also going to be adding early cash out to same game parlay coming up, which, if there is a bet that happens to be winning one of these same game parlays, somebody can cash it out and it won't cost DraftKings as much on the back end. DraftKings they're just really doing it right, Craig. We didn't know what these companies were going to look like once they finally hit scale and they had maturing markets, but they're still adding customers in those maturing markets. They're still getting more money out of those customers. It just is really impressive to see that it didn't just stop once those states went live. We weren't sure how it was going to look. We didn't know how long of a tail these states were really going to have for companies to still be able to go in there and get some new customers, get some new money. And it's still working for both DraftKings and FanDuel. We knew, and we'll hear from FanDuel next week. Their earnings are next Tuesday. But yeah, DraftKings for right now, they're doing everything right, Craig.
Yeah. Well, listen, as long as these parlays are around and these dummies keep betting them, they'll keep making money. And that's the important part right now, unfortunately. No offense, you guys, but you're never going to win betting parlays. All right. Now let's move on now to Illinois. Speaking of dummies, this is the opposite. This state takes a look at all the money coming in from New York. And I guess the question is, with the 51% tax rate going on in New York, even if Illinois is not able to accomplish this 35% that they want, if they even get anything more, Matthew, I feel like this is going to set the precedent for Ohio, for Philadelphia, for everywhere that has sports betting to say, hey, look, maybe we can't accomplish what New York did, but we want to at least follow in Illinois' footsteps. It feels to me like this is going to be the big line of demarcation with sports betting taxes.
Yeah, well, and if you remember, Craig, Illinois is actually following Ohio's footsteps on this. When Ohio launched their first year, they were taxed at 10%, and within that same year, they doubled it to 20%. So Ohio was the first one to really take charge of this, and the companies did not like that, right? When you come in planning to have 10% in taxes, and then it gets doubled on you, that's tough. And that's what the Sports Betting Alliance, which comprises of BetMGM, DraftKings, Fanatics, and FanDuel, that's what they're saying in Illinois right now. They have messages going out to their customers saying, please let them know that we may have to overjuice your bets to make money. We may have to do this or that. Illinois right now is at 15%, and they're trying to go up to 35%. A combined 25,000 of those customer emails have already been sent to the Illinois legislature and Governor Pritzker, we heard from the spokesperson for this group. And so, yeah, of course they want to fight it. And there's a bill right now in New Jersey that's looking to do the same. And I'm not shocked, Craig, especially after you have Ohio do it and be successful. When you see New York coming in with this 51%, and, they've been live now for over a year, and there were the threats of, well, we're going to have to make these worse odds. If we can't deduct those promos, if you're taking 51% from us, it's just not going to be as good of a product. And we haven't seen that yet. I think some of these states are waiting to say, okay, well, show us. What are you really going to do? And New Jersey is not even looking to go up to that 50%, right? These guys are still going lower. Illinois is trying to get to that 35%. That's where Pennsylvania is right now. Pennsylvania, I don't know if they would go up from that 35%. They all could at this point. And I don't blame them, right? The legislature's job is not to worry about how much these companies are making. They want the most money for their states. And when they see so much going to education in New York, it's hard to not look at a state that maybe is coming in at 10%, or you have some states out there at 6.75%, as low as that. No wonder some of these people want to look at getting more for their state when they see how much New York is churning out. Now, of course, these states are going to say, look, New York is a special example. You want to be in New York, you're going to pay what you need to do to be in New York, and we're doing things a little differently here. Whatever the case may be. But I don't know how this is going to work out for the operators if we see another state that tumbles on this and does increase the tax. I think we'll start to see it more and more.
Yeah, it could be, as you said, Ohio, Illinois, and then others to follow. Okay, let's wrap up here with the CEO from Ballybet talking about how They're very much entrenched in the sports betting market. They think that, Matthew, that they can continue this. I guess the question I would have for you is this something that's said from a CEO because of shareholders, stockholders, et cetera, that inevitably is looking to get bought out because they're really, outside of the words that this gentleman is using, there's really no signs that this is actually progressing in a way that he's talking about. Am I wrong here?
You're not wrong. And Canby, who is their new sports betting partner, actually said something like this on a call. I believe it was their fourth quarter call earlier in the year, when they said, we hope we see Ballybet start to market more. And Bally's has said, no, we're not going to do that. We have a product. We want to offer a good product, but it's really more leverage to get customers into our database for iGaming. Now, what's interesting about this interview, Craig, it's not the CEO, it's the chairman of Bally's. And his Standard General, his hedge fund right now, is trying to take Bally's public. They tried it a couple years ago at a much higher share price. Now the offer was $15 a share. So we're waiting to see. It's interesting to see what Kim is saying as he's waiting to hear if he's going to get to take this company private. Yeah, I mean, they can offer the sports betting with Canby, and it'll be good enough. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be worth it to renew licenses at high cost when they move forward, but only time will tell that.
Yeah, great stuff as always, Matthew. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. Appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, sir. Take care.
All right, Wells Fargo Championship on the PGA Tour coming up this weekend. We will get a preview of that with Brady Kannon next.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number one seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Some of the big players are back on the course this week on the PGA Tour. Before we get a preview of the Wells Fargo Championship, let's get a quick recap of the Byron Nelson as we bring in Brady Kannon. Brady gave out some really wonderful information last week here on the show. We'll see if we can do that again. But Brady, a surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win And I don't know how much money was on the line here, Brady. I'm feeling like it was, with the way that they're throwing around money at the PGA Tour, how much was it exactly? 10 million, 7 million, something insane like that?
Yeah, it's a smaller purse compared to certainly this week when we have a signature event and a $20 million purse. But I'm sure Taylor Pendrith collected over $1 million for that win. And, he was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament, also seeking his first PGA Tour victory. He went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead. And he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup, in two shots on a par 5. He chunked his chip shot, and then the next chip shot he hit to about 5 feet and missed the putt for par, which would have forced a playoff. Pendrith pours in a birdie and wins the golf tournament. Good for him. This guy's really pushing to make the President's Cup this September, which will be held in Montreal, and fellow Canadian Mike Weir is the president. So a big motivational factor for him, and the victory is of course the first one in his career on the PGA Tour. So a huge week for Taylor Pendrith, and it also gets him into this week's field at the Wells Fargo. And you mentioned the information that we gave out on the show last week. Craig, we had a really good week. We had 5 guys picked for outrights and top 20 finishes, and 3 of them finished top 20. And Alex Noren came really close to possibly winning the golf tournament outright. We swept all of our head-to-head matchups as well. So a nice week at the Byron Nelson. Let's hope that continues for the next couple of weeks with some of these high-profile events we have coming up.
Yeah, big one this week in North Carolina. It is the Wells Fargo Championship. As you said, the purses get bigger. The other thing that I would say, I'm sort of hearing a lot about this in some of the analysis that I'm watching every week, Brady, for golf. And I could say it here in Florida too. The weather is getting warmer too. So that's a big factor for some of these guys that got to, really hang strong here through the weekend. But let's take a look at the odds to win. And the favorite this week is Rory McIlroy, as he's back playing this week, plus 650. The prohibitive favorite. Xander is plus 900. No Scotty Scheffler this week, so it gives everybody else a chance to win. Wyndham Clark 16-1, Cantlay 20-1, Max Homa 22-1, Colin Morikawa 25-1, and we're very close right now to the PGA Championship, which is coming up here real soon. So nice tune-up event this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Signature status here. All the big boys in the field. Big boy golf course. You mentioned Rory McIlroy. He's won here 3 times and also has multiple top 10 finishes. He's an absolute horse for this course. And he comes off of a victory in his last start in the team event with Shane Lowry. And, Quail Hollow Club, the host course for the Wells Fargo Championship, has also held a President's Cup and a PGA Championship. So, this is a major championship level golf course. It is a great tune-up for next week's PGA Championship at Valhalla Golf Club in Kentucky. I kind of skirted the favorites a little bit, Craig, because I didn't feel their prices were real attractive, which is somewhat surprising when you don't have Scotty Scheffler in the field, and you also don't have Ludwig Åberg, who just withdrew overnight. I guess he has a little bit of a knee issue, and just wanting to make sure he's going to be okay for the PGA Championship coming up next week. The shortest shot I took was Sahith Theegala. This guy has been remarkable, not only in signature events, but on the correlated courses I used this week. He's got top 10 finishes in Phoenix, at Torrey Pines, and also Bay Hill. And I thought this was an interesting stat. We go to Bermuda grass greens this week in North Carolina. And in Sahith Theegala's last 6 starts on Bermuda grass greens, the worst he's finished is 9th, and he has 2 runner-up finishes. And by the way, over the last 36 rounds in this field, he is number 1 in strokes gained putting on Bermuda. The key to this golf course, like I said, it's a big boy track. It's a lot like Torrey Pines, Bay Hill. You've got to drive it a long way, and you've got to drive it straight. And then you've got to have a really good short game, because it's one of the hardest courses on tour to hit greens in regulation. So you're going to miss some greens, and you've got to be able to get up and down. Sahith Theegala, I mentioned the putting. He's also excellent off the tee, long and straight. So I like the combination of skills he has, and I took him at 35-1, my shortest shot of the week.
Okay, so there you go. There's the graphic. 35-1, Siwoo Kim, 42-1. Young Ann, who you really liked last week. What a great finish he had. That was a good job by you. Corey Connors, 55-1. Shank, 66-1. And then your longest shot of the week, I mean, this is even beyond the Kentucky Derby winner, Pavon at 135-1. So let's go through that real quick.
That price was too high. I thought that price was too high. You know, I think he should probably be about 100-1. So if you're getting a nice bargain like that, you know, sure. that's how sports betting works sometimes. You know, you go where the value is. This guy won at Torrey Pines earlier this year, and that's a correlated course for us. He just finished 12th at the Masters. You know, he's 17th in this field. 17th in this field on the par fours that measure 450 to 500 plus yards. And he's 18th in this field over the last 36 rounds for strokes gained approach. So he makes some sense, and the price is pretty big. You mentioned Siwoo, a good week last week. This guy is 5th in this field over the last 36 rounds in strokes gained off the tee. We went back to Benny On, who had a great week last week where he was 2nd in the field in driving distance, 11th in the field in greens and regulation. And I think this course fits his profile as well. Adam Schenk was another guy last week that finished top 20 for us. And Schenk, fits the profile this week. He was 13th last year in Texas, where he was 9th in strokes gained off the tee and 3rd in greens and regulation. Corey Connors, number 1 in this field in greens and regulation and number 2 in strokes gained approach. So little longer shots this week, but they make sense. Okay. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, it usually does with you, Brady. And so I'll look for that text at like 2 a.m. on Wednesday.
You got it. Thanks it's coming. It's coming.
We'll be right back.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
Saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. How do you define frustration? Well, listen, it's different for different people. Some people just, were able to, go inside themselves and just eat up the frustration. Some people let it out. They go crazy. And then there's this. Denver Nuggets, right? Like, I mean, this is levels of frustration they just haven't seen in years. I mean, they are getting dismantled by the Minnesota Timberwolves defense. There's no other way to put it. Chris Finch is doing a phenomenal job, and he's really putting the Nuggets in an impossible situation on offense. I don't know what they're doing, but they figured it out. This is why coaches are great. This is why film works. So Jamal Murray, how do you define frustration for him? Well, pretty obvious, because yesterday he decided to just take a heating pad and throw it on the court. But it was really bizarre because there was no tech filed on Jamal Murray. So basically, heating pad just throws on the court. And Finch, after the game, said, hey, we tried to tell the refs that there probably aren't many fans in the building that have a heat pack. So it probably had to come from the bench, which, yeah, they found logical. I'm sure it was a mistake and an oversight, nothing intentional by the officiating at all, but certainly we can't allow that to happen. Now, the reason why that quote sounds nice and delightful is because Finch does not want to get fined. Because anything more than that probably gets you what? I don't know in the NBA. What do they fine you? 50,000, 60, 100? I'm not sure exactly what it is. But look, refs are going to miss calls, as we've seen. In that game with the Knicks and Pacers last night, maybe missed a call. But in this case, yeah, if a heating pad shows up on the court, it's really easy to go back and look at it. But can you go back and use instant replay to see who threw that on the court? I don't think so. So give a little credit to the refs, too. Naturally, the Nuggets are frustrated. We'll see what happens in Game 3. Yesterday, a very big announcement. The Arizona Bowl has a new sponsor. These are the new bowl games. Now, remember, these bowl games could potentially be more important in these new rules in college football that basically states if you sign an NIL, or at least they're hoping to do this, that if you sign an NIL, you have to play in your team's bowl games. Imagine that. It would make bowl season good again. This past bowl season was horrible. Normally, I love the fact that there are 40 bowls, but this year was just a disaster. The Arizona Bowl, and the person who says they want to bring good football back to the bowl did not see this one coming. It is Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is sponsoring the Arizona Bowl with his brand of gin and juice. And by the way, Dr. Dre is involved in this as well. It is the beverage line called Dr. Dre Gin and Juice. Snoop made this announcement yesterday. He put on his floppy hat that said the Arizona Bowl. And so, look, we've seen the Cheez-It Bowl this past year. What was the most popular bowl? It was the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And now we've got Snoop Dogg at this thing as well. And it's official. He announced it yesterday. And so this is, by the way, this is not for a while. I don't think this is until December or January. But naturally, it just shows you that if you got enough coin, you can end up sponsoring a bowl game for the next upcoming season. Good job by Snoop Dogg. I did not see Dr. Dre making the announcement, so we'll just assume it was Snoop. Okay, no announcement needed yesterday. Shohei Ohtani just did it with his bat and did it again. And I was watching this when it happened. I mean, Ohtani is out of this world. Ohtani actually got off to a slow start. Would you believe this with the Los Angeles Dodgers? Like the first 2 weeks of the season, he really hadn't done much. He now leads Major League Baseball again in home runs. He's got 11 home runs. He hit a home run off a pitcher who you probably had never heard of last night. Now, I heard of him because he pitched for the Marlins. His name's Roddery Munoz. You've never heard of him. I have. But needless to say, Ohtani, amidst all of this controversy that happened with him, with his interpreter and everything, it doesn't even matter. Amidst the fact that he can't throw because of surgery, it still doesn't matter. My gosh, Ohtani, I know Mookie Betts is having the best season for any player in baseball, but Ohtani is right there potentially to win the MVP again, now leading the majors in home runs with 11. My gosh, Mike Trout has 10. He's not even going to play for the next 2 months. All right, that'll do it for our show. Thanks again to Brady Kannon for coming on, talking some golf with us, Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report, and, of course, thanks to Jacob Camenker from Sporting News, our associate producer Frank, and our producer Michael Cohen. I'm Craig Mish. We have the early line coming up next. That's followed by Coast to Coast at 3 o'clock Eastern. They'll have previews of all of the games tonight, including the NBA great matchups between Boston and Cleveland, and naturally the big showdown tonight between Dallas and Oklahoma City. We'll be back on the show tomorrow, giving you the very latest happening in the world of sports news and, of course, sports betting information. And also, don't forget, we have a great contribution here on the show now from our social media team, Rebecca, and all the contributors, which you can catch every day, but also follow them on social media on the site formerly known as Twitter, which is now known as X, at SportsGrid and at SportsGrid TV. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, for our next edition of NewsWire on SportsGrid. Have a great day, everyone.